So today on the show, we have Kyle Hebert, who some of you might look at the name and say it's Hebert, but it's not. It's a sneaky Cajun name, as far as I recall. Is that correct?
It's very sneaky. Name? Yeah. I'm from Louisiana, so we got that French thing. Like, Hebert is a common name down there and nowhere else on the planet.
Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And it's great to have you because we've done the show for 5 years, and it wasn't until recently, beyond one exception, that we've had the people that are most famous for doing the Funimation side of voice acting on the show. We had a lot of people from LA. We had a lot of people from like Clone Wars and EA people and BioWare people. But when it came to Funimation's anime side, it was like a wall. And recently we've gotten it open quite a bit, and it's awesome because these are the shows I grew up on watching Toonami.
Oh wow, that's great.
I can go better. I admire some of this stuff.
Or the one show which we're going to start talking about first, one show which you worked on a lot with Dragon Ball Z, where you had the whole like wall of VHSs, because with 3 episodes per VHS, good luck getting all those fitting on a shelf.
Yeah. I mean, I remember recording there in Texas for that first run, and when VHS was slowly becoming DVD, and I have, I got every copy for free. So it's like, I still to this day, just because it's a nice souvenir from the beginning of my voice acting career, I don't even have a VHS anymore. It's just taking up space. It's like, look at this little ancient relic.
So, we're going to start with Dragon Ball Z, but you've worked on Dragon Ball Z, not since necessarily the very, very beginning, but close enough, the last half of the show, and you've worked on it, over the years with the games, with it coming back somewhat recently with DBZ Kai. Now it's back with, movies going into theaters getting reaction. What's it been like, this ride of Dragon Ball Z, a show which is a 90s show that still has this like massive life and fan base still today? Has it surprised you just how much life that show's had?
Sure. You never go into anything thinking that it's going to become a pop culture phenomenon and that it's going to continue to influence generations forward. You think, hey, they hired me, awesome. And I started out, it was my first big voice acting gig because I've always wanted to do it since I was a kid, and getting to be a part of something you're a fan of. I started watching DBZ back when it first came on in the States in the mid 90s, and it was dubbed in Canada. They kept rerunning the first 2 arcs over and over and over, and then Toonami came along, and then Funimation came down to Texas and said, we're going to record here. So that's like 98, I think, or 99. And then I come along in summer of 2000, hear about open auditions, go in, try out, and it's like, oh my God, this is huge. This shows, I'm already into this show big time. How cool would it be to get on there and like kill 2 birds with 1 stone?
Was the change to Funimation about the time of the first half was through Frieza, then there was a big break, and then the androids and Cell, and that happened. Was that when the change happened, or is it before Frieza, the 23 episode 5-minute Frieza fight?
Well, the changeover for voice talent for Gohan is probably after the Cell saga. There's a couple of filler episodes after Cell is defeated, and then it moves towards high school Gohan, and that's where I took over.
Man.
Yeah. Yep.
The stuff when DBZ Kai came out, originally they had cut it all, and then they added a bunch of that stuff back in later, didn't they? When they did Kai, when Kai condensed it all?
Kai condensed it all, and, strangely enough, over in Japan, they cut out a lot of the blood. Go fig.
Which is weird.
And, it's like a double-edged sword, because we thought, okay, Kai is this great opportunity to chop the filler out. One of the main complaints a lot of people have about DBZ is it takes forever for the power-ups and the fights that just go on, and this trims it down by cutting out the filler and just condensing fights, and then the people aren't happy because maybe some of the voices are different, and it's like, I just prefer the original. Like, so you can't please everybody.
But if I recall right, in the original run, didn't they, like, lose voice actors left and right in the first few seasons, and they had to, like, the sound guy, you come do this. You, person over there standing somewhere, do this voice. We needed a voice because people kept on leaving.
Yeah, like, I wasn't the first narrator. I took over because the other guy left. And that guy was basically voice matching Doc Harris on the Canadian dub, and then I had to kind of voice match a hybrid of that, and then I kind of settled into my own thing. I also inherited Ox King from Chris Sabat, and I think Mark Britton had done it before, and then another talent in the Canadian dub as well. But as far as I know, Teen Gohan was the first. This is the first time in North America that character had been voiced. Since then, Brad Swale for the Ocean Group, they went ahead and finished Z with their cast up in the Great White North. But we got through it first, and it's just pretty wild. I'm a little biased by what I first heard. I love Chris Sabat because he's a great director, super talented, really, really funny. But to me, the first Piccolo is Scott McNeil. The Vegeta to me it's Brian Drummond. But Goku, I couldn't see anybody else but Sean Schimmel, and the Canadian dub had like 4 or 5 other ones.
So the Canadian dub has gone all the way through the show as well as Funimation, so technically you could buy 2 different versions of the show right now with different voices doing that?
Yeah, I'm not sure if the Canadian dub is available on home video or not. That's the thing. But I know Funimation stuff is available up in Canada. Now, the Canadian dub, through some weird territorial contracts, it aired in England and Canada, obviously, and like the Netherlands. And then everyone else would get our dub. Anyone that wanted an English dub that would come from Texas, as far as I understand.
And I think you're the first male to voice Gohan as well, if I recall right.
Yeah.
Gohan's mainly voiced by females.
We had Stephanie Nadolny, who is also Kid Goku. And then nowadays, Colleen Klinkenbeard has taken over the role of Kid Gohan and Kid
Android
Goku.
18.
Yeah. Android 18 as well, from Meredith McCoy, who originally did that. Yeah.
Okay. So, one thing I always wondered with Kai, because I love Kai. That's honestly my preferred version of Dragon Ball Z.
Fantastic.
Mostly because, well, it makes more sense and moves faster. And
90.
It still takes a while to do 98 episodes, but 300 is a little harder.
We love Kai for the simple fact that we don't have to wait 3 episodes for Goku to throw a punch. Let's just be real.
It's why I won't dive into Naruto.
Thank you. Finally.
But so with Kai, we've asked some of the people like Damian Clark, who's our first Dragon Ball Z person ever on the show, and some of these others, what was it like getting back into the studio to do Kai? And you say it's kind of like putting on a wetsuit that hasn't completely dried yet. What was it like doing this in the original run and then coming back for Kai, where you guys pretty much just universalize the voices and condense it down and just go through the entire, I imagine you guys went through the entire show again, re-recording all of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, we would take chunks, probably, maybe 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 episodes at a time and then move forward. I was excited at the opportunity because when we started DBZ, a lot of the voice talent on that show, that was their first gig. And we've come a long way since then. We've gotten a lot more experience under our belts. And I feel like we're all better actors now. So when Kai comes around, Chris Sabat's like, yeah, you guys can pretty much do this yourselves. You know the characters. You're experienced. You're seasoned. This show pretty much directs itself.
So being that you were a fan of the show and watched it through the first half and then joined it in the second half, what was it like being able to record for episodes that you had watched as a fan and not actually participated in before?
Well, in the recording process, we only record one actor at a time and only that actor's scene. So it's not like I get to see the entire episode in a recording session because that's just not good use of time. They want you to, they'll tell you what's going on. They'll bullet point the episode and kind of summarize what's going on so that we have some context. But what I hadn't realized is, we had been doing that super sanitized, edited for television and for the kiddies type dub that had been out on DVD and VHS for so long that by the time we were doing the uncut version, I was kind of shocked by how bloody it was. It's like, man, those digital airbrushers had their work cut out for them.
Yeah. And that wasn't the worst of the shows. As I said, I grew up watching Toonami. And so they had shows like Tenchi Muyo on there, and then you watch it outside of Toonami, and you're like, oh, this is not the same show.
Right,
This is a very different show.
And, I wish Yu Yu Hakusho had its day in the sun because, what a great show, and we got to work on that as following up DBZ, and that was a huge phenomenon in Japan, and that became huge. And then they brought it over here on Toonami, heavily edited. It didn't do so well. It's like, man, if they stuck it on the Toonami block now, who knows? I mean, yeah, it's old school, but it's still got a lot of hardcore fans too.
So this is a question from a listener. He wants to know, after the fan reaction to Dragon Ball GT, are you relieved that Dragon Ball Z came back with the original creators with some sort of a future of their own, and the reaction has been so much better?
Yeah. After the last two movies, which is pretty much retconned GT out of existence, it's like, yeah, that's good. When you have the creators going in, it's like, oh, there's nothing to see here. Move along. Yes. Fantastic. I mean, we were obviously happy to be employed working on GT. From a creative standpoint, yeah, we know it didn't please too many people. I didn't really have that much to do on GT. I did a couple of bit parts, and then Gohan was barely in it. So I wanted to see his story arc in somewhere a little more exciting than it did. Then we go like, he's gonna power up, and he's absorbed by Majin Buu, and now he's a bookworm. Like, what? Oh, come on.
So the part of Dragon Ball Z which you were involved in, the last, I don't know if it's a third or a half, I haven't looked at the actual episode numbers, but Adult Gohan onward is the part that, a lot of fans loved it through Frieza, loved it through the end of Cell, and then they thought some of the others was just kind of filler, which it might have been by the creator's standpoint, but, it gave us characters like Majin Buu, Mr. Satan, not Hercule, Mr. Satan.
So, that's right.
And,
yeah.
Yes!
Exactly. And all these, you got the tournaments, you got the Otherworld stuff, where you played PyCon, you got all these Kais and so on. Mm-hmm. As someone who has been involved in the creation of this and interacted with the fans, from your standpoint, how did the fans like all the stuff with the boos and the extra tournament stuff, like the kind of stuff that just added on at the end of the Cell Saga?
I think you're going to find audiences for everything. I've had fans come up and go, man, Saiyaman, so stupid, I hate that. And I go, hey, the check cleared.
I love Saiyaman.
I had fun, because it's a Gohan-centric story arc. I had an absolute blast. But, some people, the fillers and stuff resonate a little more because it is an opportunity, at least on paper. Fillers are a great opportunity to get some character filled in. You can go delve a little bit deeper. Unfortunately, more times often than not, the fillers go way off the deep end and the plots are lame and people are like, come on, and then you lose thousands of fans, as they wait for the manga to catch or give the show to catch up with the manga or vice versa. And then next thing you know, Good's a millionaire. But no, yeah. I've had people come up and say they like every last bit because they're just that dedicated. And then others are like, you know what, I could skip this saga or that saga. Just give me, it could have ended with Cell and I'd be happy. And it's like, hey, more power to you, man.
Since Saiyaman is a character who imitates the Ginyu Force, or he shows that he's been with the Ginyu Force way too long, have you ever wanted just to do the poses while doing his weird sayings while in the show when he's doing all his Ginyu Force poses as Saiyaman? Did you ever want to do those poses in the sound booth as well?
Well, I haven't really done that because there's really not room. Where we were recording DBZ, we had these, they look like glorified phone booths. They're only slightly bigger. Certainly not enough room to do the Saiyaman or Ginyu Force poses. Unfortunately, but I've seen it on the con circuit, a lot of cosplayers, and it's like, it's been so many years, I can't remember what the moves are. Some people say, hey, do the Saiyaman rap. I'm like, I'd have to look on YouTube. I'm sorry, I don't remember. It's been so long, we don't get to keep the scripts. But, yeah. The thing that really impressed me most in recent years is seeing an outtake from Thor, The Dark World, where you have Loki and Thor doing Ginyu Force poses. I'm like, oh my God, they know DBZ. This is awesome.
That was cool.
And, as a fan of the show beforehand, did you like the direction that you were able to take Gohan as he became an adult and, met Videl and trained with the Kais and had a kid?
Sure. I mean, it's an exciting arc. One of my favorite aspects of DBZ or the Dragon Ball saga in general is the fact that unlike The Simpsons or unlike Charlie Brown, all these other old school things, you have character arcs where kids grow up and then they get married and have kids, and you see those kids grow up and then they get married and so forth. It's like seeing a more grounded, dare I say, a more reality-based sort of thing. As opposed to them just staying one age through the entire story and everything. I think that adds a really cool dynamic and a lot more opportunity to explore deeper into that whole family dynamic and bring a whole bunch more characters on board too.
Awesome. So, this is another fan question. I just want to know, how did you feel as the voice of Gohan, knowing? Did it feel weird going from the Cell saga where he pretty much was the only one who could defeat Cell? He did the one-arm Kamehameha of awesomeness. His dad couldn't do it. To the later sagas where he kind of depowered a little bit, mostly because he was studying and he got distracted and he wasn't as focused. And Goku and Vegeta again became the main focal points. Did you like that direction where he was no longer the uber super most powerful Saiyan in the world, or did you feel that made sense?
No, I mean, I know Goku's the main character, but, Gohan is such a big part of the story, and seeing his story arc coming to a head, I guess, with Cell and all that. It's a little bit anticlimactic, I guess, because it was going somewhere. I thought that with Mystic Gohan, it's like, oh my God, he's gonna just take Boo, and I mean, even if he has to work in tandem with Goku or whoever else to defeat this ultimate threat. I thought we would see that. I didn't expect what was going to happen, and then, Chris Sabat kind of warned me. It's like, don't get too attached that this is going to become like, oh, Gohan's like the hero of the show necessarily. He's there, but yeah, he goes in different places. It's like, okay.
So Dragon Ball Z, especially in the last third, has a lot of humor to it. Especially with the way they edited some of things, like when they're in hell and instead of just demons wearing hell on their shirt, they wear Hiffle, which I think stands for Home for Infinite Losers.
Oh yeah, some really creative things. Like, oh, we'll just Photoshop this out and make this like wow, very creative.
And then you have characters like Boo, who literally turns people into candy and cookies and eats them. You have family like, Bulma, Trunks, and Mr. Briefs, and Bra later on, this named after underwear. When you're recording these things or when you're doing events with other members of Dragon Ball Z cast, do you guys have a lot of laughs about some of the sillier aspects of the show that you guys got to do?
Oh, sure. I mean, we'd have breaks in the session where they would show me some footage from other parts of the episode, where other bit parts especially will say, hey, since we're a Texas cast, we like to throw in people with Texas accents occasionally, or other people are doing like impressions, like here's Al Gore and here's Sean Connery, and I got to do a Forrest Gump impression during the Boo saga. Fat Boo walks into an ice cream parlor and it's like, oh, we got 14 flavors of ice cream. Hey, you gotta pay for that. Sabat's just like, hey, do whatever you want with it. we gotta fill these in. So much.
Oh, look, my daughter says hi.
That's awesome.
So, another thing with Dragon Ball Z is the characters are named after food. There's, vegetable, there's Vegeta, radish is Raditz, Kakarot, carrot. How long did it take you to know that Gohan is Japanese for boiled rice?
I looked it up pretty early on. I mean, those are the earlier days of the internet where I didn't even have a computer at home. I was a radio DJ at the time, so I'd go to work, log in to this World Wide Web, and look on DBZ fan sites like Planet Namek and look for information about the character. But yeah, it's like, oh, your Gohan means rice? Okay, I'll take it. I became a sushi fan in the early 2000s, so I'm like, I'll take that.
Planet Namek is a name of a site I haven't heard in a long time.
Right, that was a place. It's like the Mos Eisley Cantina, a wretched hive of scum and villainy. Because you would go there, and that's the first website where I went to see reviews of Teen Gohan when he first showed up on Toonami, and the very first reviews I read were like appallingly like, oh, he sounds disturbing and creepy and oh, pathetic. Then I just, I took it to heart at first, and then I saw that, oh, wow, they're just a bunch of trolls that hate everything about the dub. Okay, never mind. I'm good. You guys can stay in your basement and be miserable. I'm going to go have fun with my life.
I remember tracking on Planet Namek where for a while they tried tracking characters' power levels, and then I got to the Boo saga and they're just like, we give up.
Yeah, we give up. It's over 9,000. That's all we know.
We're screwed.
That's when they stopped even mentioning power levels. Those scouters would not have worked anymore after that time.
Yes.
So, let's see, another listener question. Do you have a favorite line of dialogue, or do fans have a favorite line of dialogue that they'd like you to keep on saying from Dragon Ball Z at conventions or events?
Well, people like to have me narrate their life or do shout-out videos to them as the narrator. It's like, next time on Dragon Ball Z, Johnny goes Super Saiyan.
That works.
Yeah.
That if The narrator is one of the voices that you have to know, especially with Dragon Ball Z. You kind of can't track it very well sometimes unless you know the narrator's talking to you.
I mean, yeah, and it's that another dual-edged sword where it's like, wow, when people come up and say, "You're the voice of my childhood," I said, "Man, I feel old," but man, I'm also humbled and honored too, because I'm taking the place, not taking the place, but I'm amongst the same place as like people like Peter Cullen, Optimus Prime, or the voice of Goofy, Jim Cummings, or Bill Farmer, or Jim Cummings doing Pooh and Tigger. I mean, people that are Darkwing Duck, things that kids grew up on, and to be along that echelon of talent, you know, man, people that I would kill to work with in the animation world and haven't had a chance to yet. It's like, man, that's something.
Well, in Dragon Ball Z is its unique thing because the original first chunk was to 93 or so, and then the second chunk was 2000, 2003. So like, there's a big old gap with ages, and of course, then they had all those movies in there that aren't canon as far as I know.
Right, they took place on a different timeline. It was kind of its own thing, but I guess these last two movies were actually in the Z timeline.
Yeah, as far as the only movies that are in the proper timeline, isn't it just History of Trunks and Bardock? I think are the only two.
Yeah, and there's also a misnomer out there that they think I'm the voice of future Trunks or a future Gohan. It's actually Damian Clark, and that was recorded just like 4 to 6 months before I came along and auditioned. I have no idea why. I can theorize, because he voiced Cell, but that maybe they didn't want to give two major characters to the same person. Maybe they already had Sabat doing 1,000 major characters, and I don't honestly know why that decision was made. I'm very happy because it kickstarted my career. But Damien likes to rib me every now and then. It's like, hey, I was Gohan. You know, it's like, yes, I know. I'm sorry, man.
Maybe it's because of the trauma he had from having to absorb androids up his butt.
That would be rather traumatic.
Or maybe it has to do with his chainsaw. Just throwing that out there.
Oh, my God. Ah! Oh, the pain. Oh, the visions. Oh.
Or maybe Butt Stallion.
Oh, God, Butt Stallion. Did we really just bring that up?
Well, he does say hello.
Okay, wait. Hang on. I have to kind of fanboy just a little bit in my own head. Oh, my dear God. Jeremiah just brought up Butt Stallion to Gohan. What the hell?
I don't know what that is, but I'll smile and nod.
It's a Damian Clark line from Borderlands.
Oh, yeah.
His character in Borderlands, Handsome Jack, says stuff like Butt Stallion says hello.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Right. So, in Dragon Ball Z, which voice would you say was the most challenging for you, either to create or just to maintain?
None of the voices were hard to maintain or create. Some of it was kind of voice matching, like the narrator and Ox King, although I noticed that after a while my Ox King sounded more like a really derpy Macho Man Randy Savage. Which is fine because that's a lot of fun to do. But I guess it would be hard a little bit to continue hours speaking like this.
Oh my God, that's great.
But yeah, I mean, the technical thing when people say what's the hardest voice to do, it's not necessarily a voice. It's maintaining all the screaming and the shouting. DBZ really cut my teeth on that thing. And now that I do so many video games that require a lot of shouting, people are like, nah, I'm sorry about the screaming. It's like, it's okay. I had to power up all the time on DBZ. I got this.
Yeah, that's a funny story because we had Michael Tatum on not that long ago, and he said the first time he recorded his scream power up for Spice, he passed out, and the guy who voices Master Roshi like tapped him on his shoulder and said, "You're now part of the club."
Yeah,
after he passed out from that scream. Did you ever have issues with passing out or almost passing out with your power ups?
Yeah. I had so much screaming in one episode that I almost fainted. I was dizzy. I had to sit down. I was like, oh, my God, I can't believe this is happening. And nowadays, it's just so commonplace. A lot of voice actors are getting their vocal cords shredded in these sessions. And nowadays, thankfully, people spread the word about different things like Chinese cough syrup. It's very helpful to help you maintain your voice afterwards. Otherwise, you sound like you gargle razor blades. A lot of hot tea with honey helps your voice get through it. And obviously, after a session where you scream a lot, you just got to go home and not talk for like 24 hours. And I've had that thing where I would go for one session in the morning, scream a lot, and then go to another session the next day, and I was still shredded from the day before. Like I voiced Kiba on Naruto. I didn't sound anything like a teenager that next morning. It's like, I'm sorry, I just came from a game session where I did nothing but scream. I did that on Titanfall. I'm one of the many soldiers you hear in the background as you're doing all this combat stuff, even though the sessions for me took like 3 or 4 groups of 4-hour sessions. So like, 12 or 16 hours of nothing but shouting and combat battlefield type chatter.
So when you started recording Dragon Ball Z and you had your first one of those screams, did Christopher Sabat or one of the other ones give you advice to how to get through it, or did he just say, let's see how you go?
Well,
or is that part of your process of trying out or auditioning?
I was so naive and just dumb when I first started out. I thought I could fake scream. Like, It's like, no. You don't understand, man. You got to scream. You can't hold back. It's like, all right. It's like, don't worry. We're gonna control the gain or the internal volume on the mic, so don't worry about it frying or distorting. It's like, okay. So I did that, and it's like, oh, I'm a little dizzy. I'll just keep going. Oh. And then they'd have to merge the takes and edit them in Pro Tools to make it sound like I'm screaming for an inhuman amount of time.
One would think that for Dragon Ball Z or some of these shows, they're just like, for your audition, you just go in and now scream for 5 minutes. And just, if you can do it, you're in.
Right. I mean, well, you are on a schedule. It's based on, line counts. On the script, it's brought down to every line you have, every reaction you have, every time a character goes, huh? Or or spouting off a paragraph of dialogue. It doesn't matter. It's all broken down. Back then when we started, we were expected to try to get between 20 and 30 loops or lines per hour. Nowadays it's much faster because we're using QuickTime and we can rewind the footage a lot easier, as stop, pause, rewind, with Pro Tools software and everything like that. In that day, we were using broadcast beta. And any form of tape is annoying to begin with, but the tapes never broke on us. But if you blow a take and you have to rewind and start over again, it would take at least 30 seconds. And, God, I mean, they took a lot of smoke breaks back then. Let's cue up the tape. Oh, God.
Did you, after you finished Dragon Ball Z the first time, did you try to book yourself a show where you didn't have to do as much screaming for a while?
Oh, no.
So you can give your voice a break?
I was sad to see it go because it had been such a big part of my life and obviously very pivotal in starting my voiceover career. It's like, well, now what? Now what do I do? Oh, crap. No one's hiring me. Luckily, Funimation started licensing other shows like Blue Gender and Yu Yu Hakusho, and I was on the audition list because I was already working there. And luckily, I got parts. Not huge roles, but certainly stuff to kind of stay in the pool there, and work for another until 2005 when I picked up and moved to Los Angeles. I quit the radio biz, and fortunately, I was already established with Funimation, so I continued to go back and forth and sometimes record long distance here in Los Angeles, with a phone patch or over Skype or whatever, and record in the studio here for One Piece or different things.
So last question about Dragon Ball Z before we transition to the second half. Is there any difference between recording Dragon Ball Z for the shows versus doing Dragon Ball Z on the multitude of video games which they have now?
Yeah, with anime, you have the finished product on screen. You have that and you record one actor at a time. Video games also record one actor at a time, but you don't have you don't necessarily have any video footage for reference. So you're not matching lip sync. Usually you're matching the timing of the Japanese audio. Sometimes there's those little subsections where they say, oh, don't worry about it. We don't have to match timing. And then others are like, down to the frame. It has to be 1.3 seconds, not 1.2. I'm like, oh, okay. And they can do that with Pro Tools. They can sit there and extend and compress scenes. But, in a perfect world, they're going to get the perfect take out of the actor right then and there.
As we transition to the second half of this interview, I guess it is time to talk about how Dragon Ball Z has lived on. We've talked about how DBZ Kai has happened. We've had 2 movies, but recently a new Dragon Ball Z series called Dragon Ball Super, not Super Dragon Ball Z, that's a game, has been airing in Japan. Japanese anime television series produced by Toei Animation began airing on July 5th, 2015. It's a sequel to Dragon Ball manga and the Dragon Ball Z television series, featuring the first new storyline in 18 years. Yes, GT happened. But it happened. That's all no.
It is set after the defeat of Majin Buu, when Earth has become peaceful once again. So basically, the series retells the events of the last two movies, that is Dragon Ball Z Battle of the Gods and Resurrection F, before proceeding to tell original stories about the exploration of other universes and the emergences of future Trunks and a new threat to the Earth known as Goku Black. In addition to his role as a creator, Akira Toriyama also credited for the original story and character design concepts of the new anime, which is directed by a relatively new team with a lot of old people coming back. Toriyama elaborated on his involvement with future Trunks arc, saying he created the story based on suggestions from the editorial department. As with last time, I wrote the overall plotline, and the scriptwriters have been compiling and expanding the story content in individual episodes, making various changes and additions and generally doing their best work to make the story interesting. The series has... the preview was first aired after episode 157 of DBZ Kai, so we've not gotten, almost 60 episodes of DBZ Kai somehow. The next day, the main promotional image of Dragon Ball Super was added to the official website and unveiled two new characters. One was named Champa, the other one was named Shanpa and Vados, respectively, and the 30-second trailer included new characters uploaded to the series' official website on June 26th. Dragon Ball Super received an English-language dub that will premiere on the Toonami channel in Southeast Asia and India in 2016. This dub, sadly, according to Attack of the Fanboys, they know nothing. Toonami Asia this last week said, well, August is almost up, and we were expecting to have more details by now, but we have nothing. But good news is the English-language version of the new manga is coming out next year, and Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 will have some of Dragon Ball Super, so we expect to get the English dub of this series sometime before then, or else we'll hit major spoilers. So, but that is Dragon Ball Super. If you like Dragon Ball Z, we have another show coming up, and it looks to be equal quality to the movies Battle of the Gods and Resurrection F, which came to theaters recently and did really well, and fans have been loving. I love Dragon Ball Z. I'll be checking this one out as soon as it's in English because I don't speak Japanese. And now back to the show.
Somewhere in a remote part of planet Earth, Gohan is taking a break from his studies and enjoying some much-earned R&R. That's rest and relaxation.
Hey guys, Gohan here. I'm just listening to Bombad Radio, where next week Kyle Hebert, my voice, will be on the show. Well, looks like break time's over. Time to get back to training. Kamehameha!
So, James, do you have a question for as we transition to the second half of this episode?
Well, we were talking earlier about the recognition and it's like, oh wow, dude, Dragon Ball Z, and Gohan and and it being kind of like a thing, where you were saying, it's kind of an honor, yet at the same time, oh, hi,
indeed.
But yeah, moving on to that, some of the stuff that you've been a part of now, Yu Yu Hakusho, and more currently One Piece, are getting so big that do you feel like it's kind of like a resurgence for you in a sort of way that hey, wow, now I'm part of this other thing and it's getting huge too?
I mean, I am super beyond blessed to be a working actor, period, and try to, somehow maintain a living in Los Angeles where the cost of living is ridiculous. But yeah, every time I get cast on anything, I'm thankful. But especially on a tentpole franchise, any of those huge shows that go on for years, like One Piece, Naruto, Bleach, DBZ, anything I can get onto in these huge pop culture phenomena like Full Metal Alchemist, Gurren Lagann, different things, and then of course tons of games. I've been very blessed to get on Street Fighter as Ryu and other things, Fire Emblem Awakening and different RPGs, and now we're working on Danganronpa, the anime based on the game, where I come back as Soda on that one. I'm always floored that I get to be a part of something special that resonates with fans, and I also get to do something that is so much fun for me, and it pays off in spades, not in finances, not in money, really per se, but more so in soul satisfaction. It's like, this is what I feel I'm meant to do. I have so much fun working with these people in the studio, in the booth, and given my 110%, regardless of what if I go in for a a major character or someone who comes on for 3 seconds and then dies later. I mean, that's just par for the course. And then I have the added bonus of not having the bias of, you're hired based on your looks. The on-camera world of acting, much more cutthroat. Definitely, you're pigeonholed. You're limited by what you look like. You're limited by your age, your size, and so on. In voiceover, doesn't matter. You can be big as a house and you voice skinny dudes all your life, or vice versa. You have grown women voicing children. You have all sorts of different opportunities.
So you mentioned how you're Ryu in Street Fighter, which you also did Ryu the voice in Wreck-It Ralph, so that makes you also a Disney character.
Luckily, yeah. Talk about surreal, man. They came to me, a.k.a. they came to my agent who came to me and said, Disney wants you. I said, okay, good, they can have me. And I had seen,
do whatever they want.
2 weeks after that very first teaser trailer that shows the whole Villains Anonymous thing with the Street Fighter characters in there, I go, man, that's so awesome. I wish Ryu had an excuse to be in there. 2 weeks later, she calls and goes, Disney wants to hire you for your Street Fighter character? Like, oh, my God! And I live 5 minutes away from the Disney Animation Studio, so I'm like, oh, that's an easy drive. I go there.
Got up and ran straight there.
There. The cameo was rewritten like 3 or 4 times, so I had to go in for like 4 different session fees. So I'm like making really good money going in there for like 5 minutes tops. You know, it's like we changed the line. Okay, do it 3 or 4 times. It's like, do you want a Hadouken maybe? Like, you don't have one scripted here. It's like, hey, yeah, sure, why not? Hadouken! Like, okay, thanks. And this is Rich Moore, who most recently directed Zootopia. And I come back 2 weeks after that, and we got another rewrite. It's like, okay, so the animators, they love your Hadouken, but they actually animated Shoryuken. So can you give me a that instead? Like, okay, Shoryuken! Like, okay, awesome. And this was just me and Rich Moore, the director, in the booth. Nobody else, so I didn't get to see any of the other cast. When they record these big Pixar movies and Disney films with the big celebrities, they don't even get to be in the same room because everyone has wonky film schedules and so forth. So everyone kind of comes in when they can. And then at the end of the post-production phase, they start bringing in the bit parts and the walla or the assorted background characters. And that's when they bring in, the voice of Ken and Ryu. You have Ruben Langdon and myself. You have Roger Craig Smith as Sonic the Hedgehog. And yeah, we got to be a part of a Disney movie, and a damn good one at that. And I'm so thrilled that they're going to make a sequel, and I really hope they call us back.
I hope so too, and I want more cameos in the sequel. Even just give me more.
Yeah, exactly. Let's have Mario this time. Let's have everyone else who didn't make it.
Let's hope they get the proper guy for Mario.
I just want Ryu to just Hadouken Disney characters. Is that wrong?
Well, I mean, I heard thematically they're going like leaning towards things on the internet. So
World of Warcraft maybe will pop up.
Hey, who knows? I've done some Warcraft stuff, nothing major, but I'm friends with Rich Moore on Facebook. I like occasionally drop subtle hints like, "Hey, the voice of Ryu from Wreck-It Ralph's around. You know, if you have any need."
Oh man, shameless self-promotion. Gotta love it.
Shameless. Oh yeah, hopeless. I'm bad.
Amazing.
So not just with Disney, but you're also in another giant fan base with shows, because you're in 3 different Marvel shows. 2 of them, of course, are anime ones, which I enjoyed about most of them. And of course, you're in Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes. A lot of voice actors say a lot of the time that one of their dreams was to be a Marvel character. Was this one of your dreams or goals to be a Marvel character, or was it just kind of surreal that you're in this universe of all these comic books that are so famous?
Well, yeah, getting to be a part of any comic book canon. I was a kid who grew up on Marvel and DC, so I was thrilled to get anything. I've been auditioning for characters for all the major studios for years since I moved out to LA, and none of the DC stuff has really struck for me, but the Marvel stuff did, and I got really, really lucky getting to be Super Skrull on Earth's Mightiest Heroes Avengers series, the first Avengers series on Disney XD. And then getting to do some of the Marvel pinball stuff. I got to be Iron Man. I got to be, Odin, Thor's dad, and some of the other expansion tables. And then if you have Spectacular Spider-Man, the mobile app, I voiced Doc Ock on that, and that was a real blast to do.
That's the best Spider-Man show ever done.
Oh, nice, yeah, and a fun game too.
We had Greg Weisman on not that long ago, and that's a show I can talk to him about for hours. And the game, I missed that show.
Oh, here he goes. We've just opened a whole new can of worms. But although to be honest, of all the things that I know for a fact that you've done for Marvel, I kind of dig the whole J. Jonah Jameson from Marvel Heroes. That was cool.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, I had so much fun. Cool. I was in the studio because the head of the studio goes, "Hey, can you do a voice match? Can you imitate what's his face, the actor who was in the live action Spider-Man?" I'm like,
Oh, yeah, sure, no problem. I can do that. That's easy.
Oh my God, so good.
All right, hop in the booth. And like, all right. So on several incarnations of the games, Marvel Online, and even the live traveling Marvel show, I did J. Jonah Jameson for some of the video stuff playing in the background during that stunt show stuff. Yeah, it's like, hey, as long as you guys can't afford the other actor because he's a big Academy Award winner now, hope you guys keep calling me when, J. Jonah Jameson's like Disney Infinity. She shows up there and it's like, hell yeah, man.
See, that's what's up. That's awesome.
So I know you got into voice acting. I believe it was because of Steve Blum. He helped you along the way. And I know one of his early recordings of anime, which before he even considered himself an actor, I believe he talked about I think it's a recording in a treehouse essentially for some anime back then. I think it was called MacGyver or Guyver.
Oh, The Guyver. I remember that.
Guyver.
I had that. I was a fan of that series on VHS. I had no idea it was him.
Have you ever talked with Steve Blum about the differences in how has it changed from recording anime back in the day when he started to what it is now? I mean, what it was when you started, and then of course what it is now, where they have a lot more money now than they did back then.
Yeah. I mean, you would go to comic book pop culture conventions. There weren't even anime cons in the 80s, but they'd have the video rooms, and occasionally there'd be like 2 or 3 people in there watching 4th or 5th generation VHS Japan only raw anime titles. So it's always had its fandom. But then it really started exploding in the 90s and the early 2000s, especially with DBZ, Sailor Moon. Toonami really opened up that big can of worms, and it was a really huge burst.
So here's a listener question. Since you've been involved in both of these franchises, let's start a fight. Which did you prefer, Pokemon or Digimon?
Oh, crap.
Oh, shit, I voiced in both. So
I know, that's right.
Yes.
You were Oak in Pokemon Origins, and then you were in Digimon Fusion, and I believe they just announced you for Digimon Tri.
Yes. Yeah.
For the English voice cast.
Be in theaters for one night. But yes. Yeah, it feels wild. It's like, am I shooting myself in the foot if I pick either one because I've worked on both? I don't know. I worked on Digimon first. And then I got this iconic, younger version of Professor Oak in Origins, and it's like, I don't know. And then I'm all about Pokemon Go right now, so as a lot of the world is. So maybe I'm a little biased, but yeah, Pokemon probably.
Yes, folks, you heard it here. Kyle Hebert prefers Pokemon to Digimon. The two series which have battled since they began airing in the 90s. True, both of them have very similar premises. Both came out of rival companies in Japan and aired on rival stations here in the US. The theme songs, well, both American theme songs people seem to know very well. The main Pokemon theme, however people think it is now. I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was. To catch them is my... People remember it. The Digimon one sung by the band Bare Naked Ladies. Digimon, digital monsters, Digimon are the champions. People remember both of them. The series were very similar, though. Digimon had a more linear storyline. People aged and so on. Pokemon, for some reason, Ash is still 10. But, they both had, the Poke Rap that sounded like this.
I want to be the best that ever was. To beat all the rest. Yeah, that's my cause.
Electro, Diglett, Nidoran, Mankey, Venusaur, Rattata, Fearow, Pidgey, Seaking, Jolteon, Dragonite, Ghastly, Ponyta, Vaporeon, Poliwrath, Butterfree.
Catch 'em, gotta catch 'em all. Pokemon!
And believe it or not, Digimon had the Digi-Rap, which was on Digimon the movie, and it sounded like this.
The Digi-Pollution is up and running. Did you see, did you hear, did you know it was coming? A Digi-Destiny starts today. Let me hear you say Digimon, Digimon, Digital Monsters, Digimon, Gala Champions. Digimon, Digital Monsters, Digimon, Gala Champions.
But as much as I love Digimon, and I do actually like the show better than Pokemon, which is not uncommon in North America. North America, Digimon had bigger numbers than Pokemon did. Though Pokemon with the games and so on has, made a lot more money overall. But I guess because of Pokemon, we got something awesome like this. Yes, that is a Jigglypuff metal song. But I guess now it's time to get back to our interview with Kyle Hebert.
Parker, are you listening to Bombad Radio again? Stop listening to that podcast and get me photos of Spider-Man.
kids these days and their podcast. No voice actor or author should distract from getting me photos of that villain Spider-Man.
Okay. And, with your Digimon work, like Digimon Fusion is a show that I kind of dismissed when it first happened, and then I watched it with my son a couple months ago, actually, on Netflix.
Oh, good.
And found out I loved it, because I loved the first two shows, first two seasons, which is why I'm looking forward to try so much. I've been waiting for almost a year now for English to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And Fusion surprised me, because I didn't like it when it got a little darker with some of the other seasons when they went into the human world and so on, but Fusion seemed to have all the right elements, and it was fun, even though they had some bizarre designs. It had a fast-moving story, and the voices just seemed right, and they had consistent fun with it, which is something that I hadn't necessarily had since like the Jeff Nimoy days and the original run.
Yeah, and I got to do very minimal stuff in towards the end of that run, and then Fusion comes along, and I got not one but two of the main cast, and it's like, wow, this is wild.
You were Ballistamon, right?
Yeah, Ballistamon.
And Darulumon.
And Darulumon. He's got the drill that will pierce the heaven. Oh, wait, that's Gurren Lagann. Sorry. But yeah, getting to be two totally different types of characters. One is very, kind of Steve Blum-esque. And then the other one I totally modeled after Phil Hartman.
Nice.
And we had tons of fun. Mary Elizabeth McGlynn directed a lot of that show. She also directed Naruto, so we'd work together on that. And we got to improvise a lot of the, not Darulumon, the other Ballistamon's dialogue. We changed it, we made it funnier, and Viz let it pass. So, yay!
And so what we've had, the only other person we've had who's done a lot of Digimon stuff before was Jeff Nimoy. And he was saying how when he went on there, he also did a lot of the voice directing for it. And he was saying that he taught them who were recording it that, they can actually reuse some of these lines, record it once and not have to do it 400 times whenever they're, digivolving.
Yeah.
By Digimon Fusion, did they still follow that process where they don't have to record the same line of dialogue 4,000 times?
Yeah, just like Sailor Moon transformations, they have the same power-up yells or all that. Yeah, they do that to, because they already had it. It was just looped footage. It's like if they're going to use that, then you might as well use the established VO. You don't have to record that over and over again. Sometimes they'll have, like with the video games, they'll get like an archive of different sounds, like fight sounds, throwing punches, getting hit, maybe a couple of death screams, some efforts, jumping, landing, laughing. And they'll just have that as a, go-to grab bag, in case they need to pepper those in somewhere.
Okay. And then you got to voice Greymon in Fusion, which is the character you get to voice in Digimon Tri. So Digimon Tri, to me at least, I haven't seen it because I've been avoiding the subtitles just because I'm used to it in English. And it seems to me that they're approaching this in a way that they want to be really respectful to the original show. It's kind of like a get the team back together type thing. Mm-hmm. Was it any different recording something like Tri, this kind of a big event Digimon show versus Fusion when you first got in there?
No, not really, because the process is always the same. The actor goes in completely cold. We have no idea what we're going to be doing that day. But the director catches us up saying, all right, we're recording on this show or this movie or this game. Here's the plot in a nutshell. Here's what your character's doing. We see the dialogue for the first time there in the studio and on a little music stand before us, or sometimes an iPad, or sometimes it's generated directly on a screen. And then if it's an anime, then we preview each line in Japanese to look for the context, how loud or soft to make the line delivery. And then sometimes it's a one-take Jake. Others, we got to kind of finagle a performance that works best for the director, or sometimes the client's there too. Like with the Marvel anime stuff, we had a representative from Marvel, the Japan side, kind of sit in on the anime recordings when I was doing like the big bad guy on the Iron Man anime and whatnot. But usually with games, there's someone from the client side there. In anime, not normally. Normally it's just the engineer and the director, and then on the other side of the glass is the talent. It's just one actor at a time, usually.
With Tri, since they've already announced the cast and so on, I'm quite sure you can talk a little more about it. Did they bring you guys all together when you first started, saying this is a cast, or did you know who else was cast? And also, the second half of that question would be, how long ago did they cast people before they just announced it? Last week, I think, is when they announced it the first time.
Well, I recorded within the past month or two, so this was a pretty quick turnaround. I was actually shocked that they were going to do a Fathom Events one night in theaters sort of thing out of it. But, that's a great idea because it brings the fans out, and they do really well, and it helps boost sales for the home video. So sometimes there's a quick turnaround. Other times, I've recorded on shows that just sit in the can for a year or longer. Usually it takes about a year to localize a game like Street Fighter or Resident Evil, or I'm just voicing zombies in the background. I could work on that, and then a year later the game finally comes out. Or something like Guild Wars 2, where I'm 3 non-playable characters. I record over the course of 3 or 4 years, like once every 6 months, and then the game comes out. It's like you never know.
Yeah, because looking at the voice cast, it's kind of like an all-star cast for anime, because you have people like Johnny Young Bosch in there, you have Vic Mignola in there, Jeff Nimoy, who did the original show, is in there.
Yeah, they usually don't give you, as the actor, they don't give you like a cast list or anything, because number one, it's all under a non-disclosure agreement. We're not supposed to talk about it anyway. So they figure the more they keep us in the dark, the safer. I guess, they kind of look at it that way. But sometimes, we can hear in the booth, if I'm doing a scene with someone, it's like, oh, that's Johnny. Oh, that's Steve Blue. Oh, that's Vic. It's kind of obvious. Or sometimes the director doesn't even call them by their character name. It's like, oh, so in this one, you're going to beat up Steve Bloom. Like, okay.
So this is from a listener question, and they said, I'm a fan of Star Wars The Clone Wars, and I got used to seeing all these recording sessions where all these actors are together recording these episodes, and I've learned that is a very uncommon thing. Have you ever done a show or a game or a project where you actually got to have the voice cast all together recording an episode, and how is that difference in feel we're recording versus where you're just isolated in a booth?
Cartoon recording sessions do feature the whole voice cast together. That's the most fun. Now, you don't have the visuals like with anime sessions because they're going to take your audio and animate to that. But with anime, we're very locked in to what the animation is. They're not going to change the animation to make it fit our performance. We have to make our performance fit that. But we're by ourselves too. It's a way more fun to be in the same room as everyone else and kind of perform it radio play style, where everyone has their own mic, their own music stand, and you get to watch other people work, and you get to play off each other's performance, and that dynamic is just so much fun. If you ever get to see any of the behind-the-scenes stuff of recording sessions for these cartoons, oh, so much fun. The stuff that's going on at Nickelodeon, stuff going on at Disney Channel, stuff going on for Marvel sessions or Hasbro for Transformers and all that. It's unreal. That's the stuff that I really wanted to do ever since I was a little kid. And then I was very blessed to get into the whole anime world and then video game world. And I've done a little bit, like Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes was a cartoon, so that recorded with the whole cast. So that was really cool to have E.G. Daly next to me. She was, one of the Powerpuff Girls back in the day. And she saw me do this introduction scene as a scientist even before I show up as Super Skrull. And I get attacked by this alien or something, and it's just me in the scene. So they just record me. Then I sit back down as they go, okay, we're going to move on to page 7 or 8. And then I sit down, and E.G. Daly goes, hey, that was really good. That meant a lot. Someone from people that I look up to in the business, and they're watching you work and going, hey, good job. It's like, oh, yay. I don't suck.
So outside of Dragon Ball Z, has there ever been a project or a franchise that you have worked on that you were a fan of already beforehand, that you were really nervous just to step into that world, be it, something like with Disney or Final Fantasy or Marvel and so on? Has there ever been a franchise that intimidated you until you started actually working on it?
No, I've never been intimidated. Always been excited. I remember Naruto became a huge phenomenon for fans in the con scene 4 or 5 years before the dub even showed up. So getting on anything that had a huge following was a big deal to me. It's like, man, okay, I have a lot of responsibility to give the performance the fans are looking for. But, it's great exposure too. As an actor, you want to get out there and work on these high profile shows, so that will give you some forward momentum to work on bigger, better things as time goes on. And whether that happens or not is up to fate. There is no momentum in the world of acting. You could have a great month followed by 3 dry months, and then You never know, and it matters not if you're the new guy or if you've been working for 20 or 30 years in it. It's just the way it goes. You audition more than you work. So every time they call and say, yes, we want you, you're like, oh, my God, yes. But, for every time they do want you, you got to deal with like 50 other times where they don't call. It's just, we get turned down and told no for a living, basically. And we audition almost every day for all these different projects.
So here's another listener question. It says, you've worked on some shows that have very, very long episode runs with Naruto and Naruto Shippuden and Dragon Ball Z. Have you ever had a family member or someone close to you saying, oh yeah, I want to hear what your voice is like in said show, and then look at how many episodes there are and go, which ones?
My family, I think my brothers heard me on stuff, but I showed my parents some of the early Toonami stuff because I recorded on VHS at the time. And I said, all right, here, I don't think you're going to like it. I just knew it wouldn't be their cup of tea. My dad made it about 10 seconds in. He goes, yeah, that's nice, son. But they were thrilled that I was doing what I've always wanted to do since I was a kid. I was living my dream, and they're super ecstatic about that, even though it's not for them. They did go to see Wreck-It Ralph. My mom said, oh, that was a cute movie. I liked it. But, the thing we were most proud of is like, oh, our son's in this. And we clapped when we saw your name in the credits. And it's like, oh, man, that really means a lot.
As long as they're there to support you, because anime can be one of those very divisive things where things just happen in animes that when you're recording a voice, you probably don't necessarily know what's happening on screen, but there's some things that are in anime that's like, I don't understand why this is there, and it's very weird, and like FLCL or Fooly Cooly or some of the ones with like butterflies or flying panties, and like,
Yeah,
I guess one of
Japan.
Yeah, I guess one of the big anime tropes that I don't understand is everybody going, huh? What? Every other 5 seconds, It's like, that's not normal in reality.
like, I don't know anybody this stupid. What's going on here?
And on the dialogue, we're now doing a very concerted effort to stay faithful to the original translation. And so these characters in the original dialogue are calling each other's names and they're repeating what the other person just said over and over again. It's like, is this necessary?
Yeah.
So
it's a little down the line, honestly. I think it's anime. I've noticed seems to be one of those you like it or you don't like it. There's not much in between.
Yeah, and if you deviate, oh my God, the pitchforks come out. It's like, you changed it. Oh my God. It's like, the acting is so much better in Japanese. Do you speak Japanese? Well, no, but they emote so much more. It's like, it's a different culture. It's a different language. We're bringing something across to mainstream audiences. Mainstream audiences don't want to read subtitles. If they wanted to read, they'd get manga.
So we have a listener question here that says, you've mentioned in previous interviews that you've been fans of a lot of things in the 90s, and they just want to know, were you a fan of Wolfenstein 3D in the 90s, and then were you ecstatic to be able to play in a Wolfenstein, be a voice in a Wolfenstein game in the late 2000s, continuing that classic shooter?
I knew about it. I didn't have a PC at the time, so I never played it. The things that I just heard, that I knew were a thing that I'd be aware of it, and then I'd go and audition and like, oh, wow, that's cool. I hope that happens. And then, oh, my God, part of this. Now, the Wolfenstein game came out and didn't really make that much fanfare on the consoles, but still, really cool as an actor to be part of something else that already had a big fan base and probably was loaded with Easter eggs for the old school fans, too.
Okay, so here's another listener question. He says, I recorded a small voice part on one of the Resident Evil games, and I found myself in awe when I got to meet DC Douglas because I love his voice with Wesker. I just want to know, is there anyone who you've recorded with or done projects with or just know who you were just in awe of their talent of? And who do you respect most as voice actors, or who are your heroes of voice actors?
People I really look up to in this biz a lot of them are just cartoon people. Like Rob Paulson, Maurice LaMarche, Billy West. There's so many. Troy Baker. That guy's a juggernaut. Just amazing talent.
Yes, he is.
And he started at Funimation with a lot of us. And then once he got to L.A., he just took off on a rocket to stardom. It's like, good on you, man. He's super, super talented. Really, really happy for him. And look up to the guy. He's just incredible talent.
And you grew up a fan of Mel Blanc, right?
Oh, yeah. The whole Looney Tunes thing was the reason I wanted to do this. My dad told me about that. I was probably 8 or 9 years old, and he says, one guy did all these voices. Like, that's the coolest thing ever. I want to do that.
And now there's like 8 guys, I think, do all of them. I know Joe Alesky just died, so that one will have to change a little bit. But now there's like, I think there's like 8 or so people that do all those Looney Tune voices that one guy used to do. I don't know how he did it, and as you as a voice actor, probably even more amazed how that came out of his mouth. But I don't understand.
Right, and one of the big ones that I have super respect for and is amazingly talented. He's a mentor of mine. Is Bob Bergen, who voiced Porky Pig. For the past
we've had him on the show. He's the only guy who can do the voice, right? The proper intonation of Porky Pig.
He's got it, but Warner Brothers probably has 2 or 3 other actors on deck just in case. Disney had to do that when Wayne Allwine's health started coming under play. And unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago. But they had to get the search for the ultimate Mickey Mouse, and Bill Farmer's been Goofy for a few decades, and so forth, and they have to be ready for anything. I mean, Billy West has been Bugs Bunny before, but he's not the go-to guy necessarily. But yeah, I know a lot of pressure's on them to do such iconic characters. But yeah, I could die happy if I got to be, Batman or something. But then again, I know my voice would be compared to. It's like, you're no Kevin Conroy. It's like, you're right, I'm not. I am not Kevin Conroy.
Like, can you imagine being Troy Baker stepping in as the Joker when they're like, especially after Arkham City with Mark Hamill?
Dude, yeah, another one that I'm I'm not worthy voice talent-wise is Mark Hamill. Because I grew up, and I'm still a huge Star Wars nut, but talk about reinventing yourself. From being like, you're like Luke Skywalker, and he did other things too, but people only really gravitated towards the Luke role. And then he started doing tons of video games, and then he comes along, and the Batman animated series originally cast Tim Curry as the Joker, and they said he sounded too scary, and he sounded too much like Captain Hook on the Peter Pan cartoon back then series. So they brought in Mark Hamill, and he ended up taking the role.
And now he's become iconic for it.
Super iconic. Oh my God.
When you get to work with people who are these people you look up to so much, do you, as a voice actor, I know you're professional, but do you ever get a chance to actually be to geek out yourself with some of these people, ask them questions, or maybe ask them to sign something, or just sit there in awe of who they are?
I kind of have that as an internal monologue because I don't want to come across as too fanboyish. I have a very strong work ethic, so I want to come across as, hey, we're all equals in this room. But I know, come on. If I'm in the same room as Peter Cullen, I'm going to go in there and kind of drool and become, oh, my God, you're Optimus Prime. But what comes out of my mouth is, it's such a genuine honor to meet you, sir. I respect so much of what you do, and it's so great to meet you. And he was so honored and super humble, super kind. And making Frank Welker, another legend in the business. A guy who works so much he doesn't even have an agent. He works all the time. I'll just go golfing today, and I'll record Scooby-Doo tomorrow, and then be Optimus or Megatron the next day, and then wow, what a life.
So last listener question, they said a lot of voice actors, like Jim Cummings and others, eventually have to sing for some of their stuff because a lot of the on-screen talent can't necessarily sing, or not everyone can sing. Have you ever had to demonstrate your singing chops for a role?
I've done some stuff on smaller independent things that haven't even aired, or maybe aired in international markets, but not really full-on singing like Disney-esque tunes or anything. I would welcome the opportunity. I think I can hold a tune, and I think that would be a fun challenge to hold a note in character voice.
Yeah, I think I was watching Extreme Ghostbusters the other day. It just showed up on Crackle, so I was watching the Ghostbusters show I grew up with. Yeah. And I was amazed when it said Jim Cummings was singing the theme song. I'm like, no way. That's like industrial music. He does that, and he does Be Prepared, and he does insert all these other shows. I'm shocked what some of these people can just do when you don't know it's them.
Right. And the super talent involved on Animaniacs, Rob Paulson, Jess Harnell, and
Triss.
Oh my, Triss
McNeil.
Yeah. Oh my God, the talent right there, and they had so many songs on that show.
And then a lot of them, moved over to Tiny Toon Adventures or Pinky and the Brain, and the whole related shows. And yeah, it's amazing. So last question from me before we wrap this up is there a franchise or a video game series or a TV series that you dream of someday just being involved and being able to do a voice, be it something really small or something main? Is there any dream franchise they've not able to tackle yet that you'd love to be able to just insert yourself into?
Well, I know my ultimate goal as a voice actor is to try and be a brand new, unestablished character, something that comes up and I am the original voice for, like a SpongeBob is Tom Kenny and always will be Tom Kenny. Whatever's going to become the next big, huge cartoon character that influences generations. But in terms of franchises, I would die to be a part of, no matter how minuscule, Star Wars. Oh my God. And now that they record Star Wars Rebels and my friend Steve Bloom's in there and Mary McGlynn now this season, and I'm hoping. I've had multiple auditions for the show. I'm just going to keep doing the best I can with every opportunity that comes my way, and hopefully Lucasfilm will throw me a bone.
Well, with multiple shows coming down the road, they've mentioned how there's at least one more they're working on. Yeah, there's a good chance.
Yeah, if I could be a stormtrooper getting killed on Rogue One or Episode 8 or whatnot, I don't care.
True. They haven't brought in the ADR people yet for some of these movies, and there's 3 in the can right now, or 3 almost done filming right now.
Yeah. I remember when I did the cameo in Wreck-It Ralph. That was in July of 2012. The film came out in November. So if Rogue One's coming out in December, they should be recording ADR right now or pretty soon. So I may nudge my agent saying, hey, are they recording Walla, maybe the bit part stuff? Because I'm available.
You'd probably have to fight like a Sam Witwer, James Arnold Taylor, David Collins for all that stuff.
Yeah, I think the people that are already in that
Tom
mix.
Kane.
Yeah, all the people that are in that mix already, James Arnold Taylor, absolutely. He's in Force Awakens as bit part stuff, but still, It's like, he's established, man. Obi-Wan from the Clone Wars.
Yeah, and then Tom Kane's been Yoda since 2005, and of course he's in everything else. He's one of the few voice actors I know who could sit in his home in Kansas City and be like, well, I'm recording here and good luck.
That's when you know you've made it. You made so much money, you don't even have to live in L.A. anymore. You could just buy that fancy mansion in the middle of nowhere and just, build your home studio. And I think I'm going to relax today.
So, James, do you have any more questions before we wrap this up?
Dude, I've just been absorbing. This is awesome.
Cool. Thank you.
I'm cool with this.
Before I wrap the final one, is it okay if after, since rather than recording it here, if I send you some ideas for bumpers, if you could record some bumpers so we can advertise it on this week's show?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll send you an email with those. I imagine, just to make sure I have them all right, James, J. Jonah Jameson,
Yes.
Gohan,
Yes.
and probably a narrator.
Yes.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Because we need someone asking us to take pictures of Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah. Where's Parker? Where's Spider-Man? He's a menace.
Awesome.
I'm just surprised that anytime I see someone else playing that role, and and it sounds dramatically different, I'm just like, oh goodness, Simmons was just born to be J. Jonah Jameson, and since I think he's like Commissioner Gordon now, I think in the DC, it's gonna be so weird.
Yeah, it is gonna be weird. It's like that's so odd. And would they bring him back for the next Spidey movie? Are they even gonna have that character?
I hope. I don't know, but it's going to be weird. They're going to have a hard role to live up to, and I'm glad, like with games, people like you can do the voice and it matches. But when it's live action, like he's one of the few times I've seen a comic book movie where it's literally the perfect casting. Like there is no one I can see ever doing it better.
No one can be Iron Man but Robert Downey Jr. It just is.
That's exactly how it is. Although now I've got visions. I'm hearing J. Jonah yelling that Batman's a menace. I don't know why. No, yeah, it's just I'm a little freaked out about that too. It's gonna be weird, but I'm looking forward to it.
No one brought him pictures of Spider-Man, so he had to become Commissioner Gordon.
Get pictures of Batman.
And since you're a fan of Pokemon Go, have you seen that little meme where people they need to have Spider-Man Go?
Oh no!
Where you're trying to take pictures of Spider-Man for J. Jonah Jameson.
No, I haven't seen that, but I tell you, I am looking forward to a new augmented reality horror game that seems to work in the same vein. That looks scary as shit and looks like, oh my god, that looks wonderful.
I forget what it's called, but holy crap.
The ghost one, isn't it?
Yeah, you're like trying to capture ghosts or something.
Yeah, I saw that. Was nope, full of nope.
What's it called?
I'm not going to be in the bathroom and be like, there's a ghost in my shower. Yeah, I'm leaving.
Yeah, it's like I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night, I'm going to get a notification, I'm going to pop it up, holy crap, there's a ghost hovering above my head. Holy crap!
Yep.
Oh, it's great.
So we're going to wrap this up now because we've gone a little longer than we said we would. So if people want to find you online, ask you more questions, follow your work, hear your musings, where should they go?
At Kyle Hebert on Twitter. That's the best place to find me. I'm also on Instagram, KyleHebert.com. Now spell the last name, Hebert, like Hebert. KyleHebert.com. But it's pronounced Hebert, like Hebert is attacking Leo DiCaprio. But yeah, you can find out my latest convention appearances, and I pimp my projects on there. But usually I'm mostly on social media, on Twitter, and I have a Facebook page too, facebook.com/KyleHebertVO. Of course, they have a different algorithm now on pages where you don't necessarily see stuff in the timeline that is, chronological, unfortunately. So I would just encourage people to try and go to Twitter or my website. Real easy to find. KyleHebert.com if you want to email and avoid the whole social media thing too.
And do you still have your podcast on the Smodcast network?
Actually, I don't, because that podcast network is no longer a streaming thing. So the Big Ball Broadcast is gone. But if you type it into iTunes or whatever, I'm sure the RSS feed still has an archive of episodes that you can find from the past year or so. And I'm still the voice. I'm still the voice on Kevin Smith's podcast.
Okay. And they can just, because your podcast, they followed a lot of anime news and stuff, if I recall right, because I listened to it in its first run, and then I didn't pick it up in its second run because I had like 3,000 podcasts.
Oh, sure. Yeah, now that podcast is a household name, yeah, we did a lot more pop culture stuff, a lot of Star Wars talk, a lot of comic book movie talk, a little bit of tech. But, that's all out of date now, so I don't know if you want to go in a time capsule and listen to, I wonder how good The Force Awakens is going to be.
Well, my dream Star Wars film, the one I've been dreaming of my entire life, is the one coming out this December. I've wanted a war film my entire life of Star Wars, and I'm finally getting it, and I just hope it's good.
Yeah, I got a good feeling about it. I think it's in good hands.
Yeah.
As do I. And if a 200-foot Godzilla appears in the middle of it, it better be a Zilla Beast.
Hell yeah. I'm cool.
So thank you so much for giving us your time and for being on. I love talking to voice actors, because you guys literally have been, my childhood, my grown up life. I watched cartoon shows like I was watching Extreme Ghostbusters and Ben 10 today with my son. I like picking out voice actors. I love it when I can actually pick out voices, and you're one that I've been able to pick out a bit when I watch anime, and that's a good thing for me, because I love being able to say I know this guy, and now that I've talked to you, you're just as great in person. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. And thank you all to all the listeners out there for embracing pop culture, anime, video games, cartoons, tech, all that stuff. I'm a fan of all that stuff myself, and I'm very, very blessed to get to work in the industry. Thank you all.
Enjoy the rest of your evening. And, Jeremiah here in Arizona, and, of course, James in Florida.
Indeed.
We thank you for your time, and continue the awesome work. And I look forward to seeing you or hearing you in Digimon Tri in just a little while.
Awesome sauce. Thanks, guys.